Live. Yes. So good. Fine. I think we're live. Adjust this real quick. No. What happened to you? Is that it? I think that's more it. Oh, whatever. Oh, here. I got autofocus on. That off. Okay. Down a little bit. Again, up a bit. Saturation. Not too much. Bit sharpness. Boop. Normally I do that in advance, but not today. All right, so let's share this biatch. Oh boy. I've got a lot to say, but I said I was going to do a live stream. We're doing a live stream. Oh, oh, can you hear that? Mm. Ooh. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, I had some notes. I don't know if I want to read the notes. So tired. Close that. Cool. And we're good. All right. And again, sorry anyone's asking, using the Samson I don't remember what it was. The Samson teacher. Oh, it doesn't say. It's underneath this, I assume. But it's the same one I had last time. Considering people seem to like to ask what mic I'm using because people seem to like them. So anyway, this is a real late live stream. Well, not expecting anyone to show up, but said I was going to. I did some comedy a couple days ago, and yesterday and the day before, so Saturday and Friday, and really, really my first time back doing comedy. Technically, there was a small bar that I did some comedy at. Um, I think like almost a month ago with a friend, and it's the same friend that I did these shows with. Um, and it wasn't really, it wasn't bad. None of the shows were bad. First one, it was at the Tiny Bar. I think that's actually what it was called, tiniest bar, or something like that. Um, wasn't bad. It was just clear that I was not ready to come back. I need a little bit more practice. But these last two shows, it felt more like it felt more like what I was, supposed to be doing. It felt more familiar. I I quit comedy because just kind of I didn't like the um the scene too much. I also didn't like kind of like who I was becoming doing comedy before. I there was a lot of like influence and push to become a little bit more of a dirtier comic kind of thing. And I just didn't really want to do that. Not that my entire thing is like, spotless. I'm not going to say that I am. But, you know, there's a lot of topics that I don't cover. There's a lot of things that I try not to do, but people were still getting offended regardless. And it's not really something that, you know, I've ever wanted to do. However, nowadays you can't really stop people from being offended. Everyone's going to be offended over something. Um, Even if it's clearly not what you intended, they will still get upset and they will still try to cancel you and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, even though I am kind of sort of technically back doing comedy, I'm totally fine not being back doing comedy. There's really only, like, a handful of friends that I actually, like, do comedy with just because I trust them, I trust their booking, I trust their judgment, but other than that, for the most part, I'm not really in the game anymore. Um, I also wanted to talk about, um, there's been a lot of hullabaloo as it comes to certain things that are happening in the anime industry. Not really the industry, really just very particular shows. Just 2 things that have people have, not 2 things, but just a handful of things that people have really started to notice. One of them being that they're no, okay, so trying to attack this appropriately, trying to attack I was gonna do a video on this, I might still do a video on this, but there are a lot of people who are upset one way or the other. And again, it's people being offended and being upset for very tiny or meaningless reasons. Um, there are people that don't like certain certain tactics or certain approaches to the industry as far as anime is concerned. But I technically don't really have a problem with, and that is this kind of push towards casting more than half, or the objective to cast more than half of the roles with non-white voice actors. Like, it's a very specific um, approach. It's a very specific goal, is to voice the majority of anime at some point in the near future with mostly non-white voice actors. Personally, I don't care. The only thing that I care about is that um, I really think that the audition should just be open, and it should just be based on whoever's good. You have an open audition, people come in, they audition, and whoever did the best job, they get the role. And since it's like voice acting, it really doesn't matter what the person looks like. Well, this kind of came to a head because I knew that certain companies and certain dubbing companies, I'm not going to say which ones, were were putting together a team that was specifically designed for that kind of objective, for specifically designed to hire only non-white voice actors. And to literally go out and find voice actors who weren't white to add to the pool. Um, which I get the idea, I get the objective, I get um the sentiment behind it. Um, and I also understand some people's point of view on this. I don't think it's here's where I think a lot of people are getting confused. I don't think it's the idea of telling white voice actors they can't. I think it's just there's a goal and objective to go out and find good talent in specific demographics that don't seem to be getting a lot of voice acting or a lot of anime. I think that's fine. Um, but I think on the other side, I think there's a false idea that this is intentional, like that there's more white voice actors on purpose, like someone did this. And I don't think that that's true. I think that's just like that was just like how it ended up being. Um, I don't think that it's racist. I don't think that like anything intentionally. It's not like there's someone overhead all of this, pulling the strings, making this happen. That's just how it ended up. So knowing both of these things, I get both sides, and I'm leaning more towards it's totally fine that there is, you know, okay, so let's step back a little bit. So Japan, um, and I don't really know how else to say this, but is kind of racist. Um, I don't know if it's necessarily a matter of race as much it is just, they prefer certain appearances. Um, they actually do draw and animate a lot of their characters to look like white Caucasians. That is actually a thing that they do. Now, now there are some that draw them to be Japanese. There's some that draw them to be, basically look white, and there's some, that draw them to be other things. But the majority of the time, they do look like white characters, and sometimes they just look like white characters, and they're not actually supposed to be white Caucasian. And then other times they are actually supposed to be white Caucasian. You actually have to go and talk, look up interviews on the actual manga artists or the people who originally created the anime and find out what nationality these characters were supposed to be. Um, and a lot of people, when they're being asked what nationality, people get nationality confused and race confused, nationality and race confused. So when they ask a manga artist, what nationality this character is supposed to be, they're like Japanese, and they're like, oh, okay, so they're not white. And it's like, No. Sometimes the character is white, but he's from Japan. He speaks Japanese. He lives in Japan. He's in ensconced in Japanese culture, but the character is supposed to be white. And other times they are supposed to be Japanese, even though they look exactly the same. So it is very confusing, and I get that. But even if, I'm going to say this, even if a character in an anime is supposed to be white, um, I don't think it's a problem if, like, an African American voice actor is the best actor for the job. I have no problem with that. Absolutely no problem. Um, Now, this came to a head. This has been simmering for a long time, but this came to a head with recent "Don't Toy with Me" um, anime that came out recently. I think it's got like a handful of episodes um, where the I'm just going to go ahead and look up what's the name of the characters. Uh, oh, Nagatoro. I hope I'm saying that right. Where that character, um, now the character is not black. The character is not black. She's just tan. She just likes the sun. And it's made obvious because there's scenes when you see her in like a swimsuit, and she has tan lines, so you can see more of what her natural skin tone is. Well, this kind of got all muddied up because there were some people on Twitter and online who were saying that this character was black, and that if the character was going to be voiced, this is before they had actually announced, I think even before they'd even started auditions, who was going to be doing the character. And they were saying that this character is black, this character should be done by a black voice actor, and all this kind of stuff. So Funimation hosted auditions, and the voice actress that they got to do the character was black. And so people online thought that it was intentional that they did that, and thought that Funimation did that on purpose. Well, first of all, the tweets and the kind of the outrage that this character is black, even though the character is not black, had nothing to do with Funimation. They didn't say this, at least that I know of. I don't think anyone involved in Funimation was actually saying this. And I think they had auditions, and she did a great job. I've listened to sections of it, and there's sometimes when she sounds almost exactly like, obviously speaking a different language, almost exactly like the original Japanese voice actress. There's certain ways when she says senpai, like in certain scenes, it's almost exactly the same. She's doing a great job. Uh, I would say that first of all, I get the outrage on both sides, um, but they're both wrong. The outrage on both sides is both wrong because it's based on ignorance and it's based on a lack of information. Um, you know, you have to get the full story, to make good judgment, and people don't get the full story, and so they don't make good judgment. Um, if I do not think that Funimation did that on purpose because they thought the character was black. Funimation has been doing this for a long time. They know Japanese culture. They know anime. They watched the full show, the original Japanese. And I'm sure a lot of the people that work there are very familiar with the manga. Um, so I do not think in any way that they were thinking that the character was black. Oh, we must, cast a black voice actress. I don't think that's it. I think that's just what happened. They just had a bunch of auditions from a bunch of different races, bunch of voice actresses that just a variety of races, very mixed, and she was just the best. I think that's it. Um, uh, I mean, obviously, it wasn't some kind of trying to just cast, you know, overcast, um, you know, cast without white voice actors because there's a lot of the other voice actors in the show are still white. Like it's not like they excluded all white voice actors, so it's obviously really really silly and it's really really dumb. Um, but uh, the only problem that I actually have with from what I've seen of the show, obviously it's not all out yet. The only problem that I have with it is it just sounds too Funimation, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. What I mean by that is Funimation kind of has a very typical thing. They kind of have a very typical sound, very typical quality, very typical read. The performances are pretty much on par. They're all doing a good job. The quality is all the same. And the script writing, the translation is all very even. And I know also this is partly due to the fact that it's a rom-com. It's a high school drama rom-com, so it's gonna have a lot of similarity there as it is, but it all kinda still sounds basically the same. It kinda sounds like it was, like, factory produced instead of handcrafted. I know that's a very hard analogy to follow, but that's kind of what it feels like. So, instead of it having if it was done by a different studio and done with, like, not the usual voice actors or not with the usual director, not with the usual whatever, it's going to sound very different. Like an anime from Netflix or from Amazon is going to sound very different than Funimation. Um, and sometimes you get animes from a lot of the other studios that have a little bit more character. There's a little bit more uniqueness, and there's a little bit more. The characters sound a lot more different. Um, I feel like Funimation, a lot of them, they just kind of sound very, very similar. Um, and they kind of sound a little too down to earth especially when it comes to characters that are supposed to be a little bit more over the top and a little bit more um, exaggerated, a little bit more crazy, or a little bit more silly, or a little bit more goofy. Like for example, Yoshi in Don't Toy with Me is supposed to be a little bit more of an oddball. She's a little bit more of a ditz, a little bit more goofy. She kind of just sounds like the rest of them. Um, again, not done poorly. All very good performances. The quality is good. The voices match up with the lip sync. Like it's all really good. It just sounds a little too samey. But that's really the only gripe that I have. That's really the only issue that I have with it. And it's not really an issue. It's just, I don't know. I'd like a little bit more uniqueness. If I was to close my eyes, and scroll through a lot of their high school rom-coms, would I be able to tell the difference between them? That's the question. So, yeah, that's kind of it. Also been doing a lot of exercising, so I just fill up gallons and half gallons of water. No longer using that cup thing anymore because, like, what's the point? Just drink out of this thing. Why not? Well, been rolling for almost 20 minutes, and no one has shown up. No one has shown up. So I don't know if I'm going to keep live streaming at all. 'Cause I don't want to waste my time. I do have work to get to. I do have tons of voice acting to get to. A studio finally came back to me after a long hiatus. They want me to dub over characters that I was the original voice actor for. So originally, they in other cartoons, other shows that they had done, I had done these characters. I was the first one to like dub these characters, so I got or to voice these characters, and so I got to do them originally. I got to just do my own thing. And then they adapted it to different English speaking countries and cultures. And now I'm redubbing over those, still in English, the characters that I voiced originally that are kind of named differently, but they are essentially exactly the same. And it's kind of like I'm kind of like wondering, like, what happened? Either why didn't you come to me to begin with, and or number two, what's wrong with the other guy's performance? Um, I don't know, but it is more work, so that's fun. I don't know if it still counts as ADR because I'm essentially just copying exactly what I'm seeing and hearing. Um, you know, I mean, I guess it still counts. But yeah, so I got that. Got a lot of that to do. I got to do before the second. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Not too many lines thus far. Lots of Fiverr stuff. Lots and lots of Fiverr stuff. People really liking the Gilbert Godfrey. Most of my work has been that lately. Um, People having me do Gilbert as goblins for like RPGs. Some people wanting to spice up their Dungeons and Dragons role playing sessions with an NPC who gives information as Gilbert Godfrey. Some really interesting stuff. Some people doing doing live streams that want like thanks for the donation kind of things. All these messages is Gilbert Godfrey. I would have no idea why Gilbert just became so popular. I have no idea. No idea what he did, but got a lot of that. Um, a lot of writing. Been doing a lot of writing. Um, Obviously, uh, the audiobook to this is not to the Black Dress is not technically out yet as of the recording of this or as of the streaming of this rather. Um, but if it looks like it's going to take forever or there's any kind of complications, I do have the full thing uploaded to YouTube as private, and I'm trying to find a way of sharing that while kind of I don't want to just upload it as is. I do want to maybe stream it or have it temporary or put it behind like a paywall because, you know, uh, it costs a lot to make this. And even though I would be totally fine just putting up there, like monetizing it, it would be a lot of commercial breaks. And I kind of don't like that. I don't like that, that kind of constant thing. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna wait to see how that turns out. But it has been a lot of fun. Not working on the next book yet. I'm actually working on a larger project that I have a good chunk of the episodes already written. Doing a read. I finally cleaned up, like professionally cleaned up the first episode. I believe it's fine. I believe it's presentable. But it's kind of a package deal with the first 4 episodes. So the way I've been writing is basically in these arcs, that I guess these 4 episodes essentially would be about an hour and a half together if they were all together, um, and kind of tell one arcing story, and then the next following 3 or 4 episodes do the same thing, where it's kinda got this kind of enclosed loop. There are some episodes that are standalone, but a lot of them seem to really have this kind of, like, a little bit longer lasting narrative that I kinda like because I don't want them to just be episodic and just kind of where every single episode really has nothing to do with the other episodes. You could miss an episode and it's fine. I hate those kinds of shows. Um, I like the ones with where stuff builds, where stuff, concludes, and I already know how the entire show is going to end. I have the outline. Now I'm just going through and trying to bang out some episodes. Um, but there's going to be a read um, with some some friends. One of them, he wants to do it live action. He wants to shoot it live action, but it's absolutely not going to work live action. It's absolutely not going to work. It is sci-fi. Um, it's too big. It's too big a project, and I don't want to just take it to a film festival. Um, I have too many film festivals that I have too many projects that have gone to film festivals. Let me say that. I have I mean, I've been acting in Austin for, like, almost 12 years, or maybe not that long, maybe, like, 10 years, something like that. I don't remember how long I've been here, but I've been acting in Austin for a while, and the only real examples and samples of my acting that I have for my demos is all the comical stuff. I don't have any of the serious stuff, and the serious stuff is actually the stuff that I'm better at. It's the stuff that you know it's my thing. It's what I'm, like, really, really good at, but I have nothing for it because it all died at film festivals. It's all gone to film festivals. Um, one of 2 things will happen. Either it'll go to the film festival, there will be no one's gonna care, no one gives a shit, and then the director, writer, producer, whoever was in charge, whoever's, um, you know, project it was, will just drop it because, like, there was no interest, whatever, I give up. Or number 2, they will take it to every single film festival across the globe until the heat death of the universe. And one of the things about a film festival is that it can't be posted anywhere else. No one else is allowed to see it. It has to be um, hidden from the public. It can't be um, it has to be a secret. So that way, when if a studio, very, very rare, actually likes it, buys the rights, um, they can change it and make it their own, um, later on. That's the only reason that they would want to touch it. And so, if it's just not if your project just isn't good enough for or interesting enough or unique enough for a studio to actually want to buy the rights and want to actually reshoot it and make it bigger or add to it, it's just not going to go anywhere. And you'd actually be better to just post it online. And so that's that plus a whole bunch of estimated costs for stunts and action and sci-fi effects and stuff like that. It was just not profitable. So the idea is for it to be animated. Absolutely to be animated. That'd be way, way better if it's, just animated. Okay, so animation does cost a lot. This is absolutely true. But it basically stays at the same level of cost across the board. Um, so if you're shoot something live action, you have, you got 2 people on camera, you got the camera. If you have all the equipment and it's just 2 people having a conversation, it's just drama, it's just dialogue, that costs almost nothing if you already have the gear, you know? But to animate it costs, thousands, hundreds of thousands, depending on how long the episode or the shot lasts. However, if you're doing something live action and all of a sudden you have an action sequence, there's explosions and um, you know, there's sci-fi elements and there's stuff getting destroyed and tons of crazy stunts. The cost is it's not even close. Like it's not even close. It's hundreds of thousands of times more because you have stunt choreographers. You have to prep the area that you're going to be doing the fight scene. You gotta block it out. It takes multiple days of shooting just to do one stunt, one gag. um, it's not even close. Like, it just jacks up and crazy. However, to animate that kind of thing is almost exactly the same as it is just people talking. It goes up a little bit, but you don't have to worry about having to reset the scene, having to reset the props and reset the area. You don't have to worry about people getting hurt. You don't have to worry about um, you know, hiring a stunt double to look like the actor. It's the same drawing. It's the same character you're drawing. You're just drawing them doing different things. So in the overall scheme of things, it actually would be a little bit cheaper to animate it. So that's why I'm leaning into that. So um I've been trying to put together a kind of a pitch packet. I've never put together a pitch Bible before. Um Not a lot of people are too clear as far as what you're supposed to do when it comes to stuff like that. Um, they're kind of all over the place. I I I'd like to find someone's pitch Bible that was in a similar genre that I'm trying to work in, and then use that as reference, but so far I haven't really found what I'm looking for. But all that being said, been kind of busy, trying to stay busy. But it does look like I have enough interest in, at least with the people that I have talked to about this, that everyone seems to agree. Doesn't really seem to be too much issue that it is at least a story that, you know, might work, which is good. You don't want to waste yours and everyone else's time. Um, like I'm wasting my time doing a live stream for no one right now. 0 people. Nothing. Not a single goddamn. Let's see. Is it gonna set to private? What's going on? Well, it's supposed to be. Are you kidding me? I set it to public.